Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another edition of the Chris Delay Master Fail Class, your monthly dose of Chris showing me one of the ideas that we've worked on over the last kind of year or so, but subsequently decided did not have the legs to make it to a full game. And I look at it and tell Chris why I thought it didn't work, and the internet says Mark's wrong. Now,
it's been a
what
great
do we look
series. I thought you were going to say there, this is your daily dose of Chris showing his continued ability to fail at producing anything interesting to my eyes.
Well, these are all past failures, aren't they?
Yeah.
It's not as if you failed today. Hey, have you failed today, mate?
I haven't failed today yet, but it's only midday, so
Only midday in London.
there's still plenty of days still to go,
But just remember, every day there's a new dawn.
Yeah. Every day,
Found, isn't it?
every day there's a new chance to fail, and a new chance to make a new. I mean, at the moment, whenever I'm making a new prototype of a new game, I just think to myself, well, this is probably just like chapter 11 or something, isn't it, of the Fail Masterclass,
That's right, yeah. And now you've said that, like, we're too dark, these videos, and you need to be happier. Well, I've got something that will make everybody laugh. So a lot of you out there, they've not seen what you look like, Chris. They've only seen your avatar,
right?
But on Facebook the other day, you were described as a sexy metal bastard.
Fuck yes.
Chris Delay. Oh, no, I shouldn't laugh too hard.
Why are you laughing? At what part?
Oh,
of that?
Sorry.
You're just stating fact. I don't understand what's funny.
I've just never seen that side of you, mate.
Yeah.
I never seen that side of you. Chris is in a band.
Woohoo!
He's in a band, and he's playing gigs every now and again. You should name check your band.
I don't think I want to do that, mate. I don't think I want to cross the beams,
Okay, well, then you can edit out this entire section. But someone.
Cut. Go on, carry on. I'll just keep talking.
I think you should cross-fertilize the communities, mate. Those that know you.
I don't think there's any crossover between nerdy indie video game technical loners that love our video games and the kind of metal mayhem geeks that actually what I'm talking about. It's like one-to-one
exactly.
mapping.
There we have it.
We make music for like lonely, weird-looking nerds, don't we?
Yeah, check out Powderhead, and you'll see Chris rocking out. And mate, I've been honest with you. When you're on stage, you do look like a sexy metal bastard.
Oh, damn right, mate. Thanks for that. I appreciate that.
Right. So last time we looked at nanobots. I had to think about that. Nanobots, which was the sort of petri dish visualization. Nanotech. Yeah, petri dish visualization kind of.
Spacebots with the nanoscale.
Yeah. Any feedback on that?
Yes, lots and lots of feedback on that. I think that one, I would be the first to admit that one is a better idea than prototype. Like I don't feel like the prototype entirely captured what I was trying to get at with that. And it obviously had a lot of issues with not really being able to figure out what scale it was running at or anything. But I think the idea of like bioengineering organisms in a little petri dish and then expanding outwards is a really cool one. I actually think there's a really good game in there, personally, and a lot of comments seem to think that too. And there was, I love it when there's some people post like entire massive comments,
Yeah, they do. Yeah,
what you could do with this. This is a whole series of how you could turn this into something even bigger.
Yeah. And I never say never. I do. One of my aspirations is that perhaps something will be, a fire will be kindled with one of the.
Well, I hope so too. I hope something happens as a result of this. I just don't know what.
And
it's a little bit of a wing and a prayer.
Yeah, and it might not necessarily be sort of a return to something that we've worked on already, but more like a reimagining of that within a future context, I think. Probably something along those lines. But if you want to play any of the prototypes, this is video 5, I think, so there's 4 out. You can go to introversion.co.uk/prototypes and you can buy all of them. They all come in one bundle. You need to give us at least $5, but you can choose however much you would want to give. And if you're thinking, why might I choose to give a little bit more than $5? The answer is that all of the money that we get goes to War Child, which is a amazing charity doing helping children affected by war all over the world. So if you've got a little bit of spare change and you fancy playing Nanobots or any other game, or indeed the game that we're Nanotech, sorry, or indeed it's not even a real game. Why are you getting so
It's
obsessed
called
with it?
Nanotech, not Nanobots, Dick.
Is that because Nanobots is from like Star Trek or something?
I don't know, probably, yeah.
So, what are we looking at today?
Right, let me start the video. All right. So, a little bit of background then, I think, first. I think, sometimes, that we make life hard for ourselves. And by we, I mean me. I've got this desire to make games that are really unique and original and don't really play like anything else, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And this often makes life hard for us because, you know, I don't think there's never been a time in our company when we've gone, let's make like Factorio, or let's make Command and Conquer, you know, but better, or let's just make a roguelike, you know, and make it an introversion roguelike, so it would be cool. And you know, we make life hard for ourselves with this, I think, because we often have games on hand that are great but are just too similar to something else, and then we delete them. So this time I decided to give myself a pass. This is about 2017, this one.
Okay.
It doesn't even have a name, but I decided to give myself a pass, and I decided that I needed to exercise the Factorio demon in me. Right? Because I think we've established up to this point there is a Factorio demon, right? And he's pissed, this demon.
And you haven't exercised him.
No, I completely failed. This is a failed masterclass, right? I'm explaining all the ways that I failed to achieve things I'm trying to achieve. But what I did decide is that I was going to give myself a pass just to try and make some sort of Factorio style game straight up, right? Not in space, not with programmable robots, not at nanoscale with squidgy organisms, just Factorio, right? Now do you remember this engine, right? This is like an introversion bit of 3D tech. Remember the tower block thing with the exploding buildings?
Yes, I do remember that.
Yeah?
I do remember that.
This is that same system. It's like sort of like a Minecraft voxel engine, you know. With
it was reminding me of Darwinia, actually. You know.
Yeah, the colours are a bit Darwinia, aren't they? Darwinia.
Well, and it's clearly in a computer, you know, because of the blocky, you know, Minecraft, Darwinia.
Yeah, absolutely. So I sort of took that bit of tech and I thought I'm just gonna follow Factorio's lead for a bit, and I'm just gonna have fun, right? I'm trying to find ways to make myself have fun making games again, because I used to absolutely love it, and I found it really hard to find that again, you know? So I thought, well, if you're so in love with Factorio, just fucking make Factorio, right? And by the time I've been making Factorio for a month, it will have morphed into something much more introversion, you know? That was my theory.
Sounds like a good theory. It always starts so promising.
I know it does, doesn't it? It always starts so well. So here's a little bit of a 3D world. We've got some... These are resource patches, right? So this is a coal patch right here. And this is an iron patch. And this is a copper patch, right? Different colours represent different raw materials. And I can put buildings down. So in my buildings list, here's a list of industrial style buildings.
Right.
So I'm going to pick a miner and I start mining some coal right here. Right, so if I slap that down, you'll see that immediately starts pumping away, and we get a little bit.
So when did this come into chronology in terms of like
this is
order of magnitude?
This is after order of magnitude.
Okay.
It's after Spacebots as well. I think it's before Nanotech, or maybe around the same time as Nanotech. Yeah, around about then. This is another one like Nanobots. This is another prototype that I didn't spend that long on.
Nanotech, mate.
Did I say Nanobots?
Yeah, you did, yeah.
Fuck. this, is a, this is another prototype that I didn't spend that long on. So you can see I've started mining some coal and I've started mining some iron, and let's bring them together. Anyone that's played Factorio will be familiar with these beats. I noticed there's quite a lot of games now that are following Factorio's footsteps to the letter, you know? Like even down to like the coal and iron and copper, and then turning those into gears and then circuits, then turning those into higher order things. You know, it's become like the roguelike, I think, you know. It's become an established thing now. Let's go for, so this is a smelter, right? So this is the equivalent of the Factorio smelter that's going to take in coal and iron and start giving us some iron ingots. Here we go. Right, so we've got little inserter arms, right, lifting materials off the conveyor belts, popping them into our furnace, and now you can see at the front of our furnace we have a little build-up of iron ingots forming. Right? Yeah. Pretty cool.
Oh, yeah,
right?
Cool. Yeah.
So we've got the beginnings of a production line.
Yeah.
So let's bring this over to here, like this. Maybe like this. Yeah, that'll do. So there's our output. So the other thing we can do is we can, because it's only early in our production chain, we can actually take anything manually. So I can shift click on this and I can just absorb all the iron that was in that building.
Okay.
And pick it up directly. And in the top right corner, you'll see my inventory, right? Iron ingots and copper ingots.
Yeah, right.
So you might wonder why do you want that? It's the same as Factorio, right? If I try and build something that I don't have the parts for, like say a splitter, right? It shows up as a little wireframe, and then you get this build queue in the corner, and the build queue is using the raw materials that we have in our own personal inventory to make that thing that we've requested.
Right.
But that's doing it manually, right? That's the slow way. And the whole point of Factorio is obviously to do everything automatically, right? I often think the point of Factorio is to make the game play itself.
Yeah.
Right? So we've got 2 miners left. So if we combine, so it tells you the ingredients there, right? If you combine an iron ingot with a gear, you can make a miner, right? Of which we only have 2 left. So we can make a little factory setup that will make more of those for us automatically. So this is a factory, right? Sort of looks like a 3D printer. That's how I imagine.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, yeah, cool.
So if I click on that, I'm going to tell it to make gears. And gears need iron ingots. So I'm going to pop a little inserter there. So a little inserter takes iron ingots off the line, and then that factory will just make gears, right? You can see output gears starting to queue up here, filling up the storage space. Right?
I always thought the inserters are an interesting, you know, in Factorio as well. I've not played a lot of it, but because you don't need the inserters, do you? You know, I think
some games you would be able to just plumb this conveyor belt straight into the building.
Yeah.
But I'll show you the advantage and the reason why it's done straight away. Let's change this to miner. These are all things you can make. Miner. There we go. So a miner needs iron ingots and gears, right? So we're making gears here. So I can put an inserter between these two, right? And now I can take the output from one factory and queue it into the next, right? And that clears the backlog in this one. So this one starts filling up again as well. But miners also need iron ingots, just like gears do. So we can have another inserter here. And this is why inserters are generally a better option than plumbing a conveyor straight into a building. Because you make all the materials available on a conveyor belt, and then all of your factory that you build around it just takes off the conveyor belt that it needs it for.
I suppose I was going to say you could just have a zone around the outside of it. I'm not saying you should, but you could just have a zone around the outside of it where it just takes resources.
Yeah, you could.
Know? Yeah, you could. I suppose the inserters give you the ability to kind of direct that resource allocation, don't they?
Yeah, that's right.
If you want,
that's right.
Yeah,
and the whole point of Factorio is designing increasingly efficient, good layouts. And this is your first ever layout. And if you've played Factorio like 10,000 hours, like I have, after a while, I mean, the beauty of Factorio is that it makes you make complex machines out of simple parts, right? And what could be more simple than an inserter that just takes from one side and puts on the other side?
Yeah.
It doesn't care whether it's a conveyor belt on the other side or a building or whatever. Right. So this thing is now making miners, and I can shift click on that and pick them all up, and so now I've got 7 miners, right? So we have the beginnings of our production chain. So let's go over here and do the same with copper. Bike. Now what I want to do is I want copper to come down. I want copper ingots to come down there, like that. So I want to have smelters like this. I think this is how you want it. Yeah, so you could do, I think actually, do I let you do it in this game? I'm trying to remember if I was nice and I let you do that.
What, just jam them straight in?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
Since you mentioned it, that's something that Factorio won't let you do. It won't give you that option. But fine, we'll do it the lazy way if you like. Let's bring some.
There you go. That's the difference between our Factorio and the original.
Well, I mean, I agree with you. And I've tried loads of different ways of doing it. I mean, Factorio sort of gives you the most basic, least helpful way, but somehow ends up the better game for it.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
It's hard to explain why.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to jump. So you see, I've made life hard for myself now because now I need to get coal to both of these as well. Right. So by taking the easy route and plumbing in the iron ore straight in, I've made it harder for myself. Do you see what I mean?
Not really.
Well, how am I going to get this coal in, right? Because it's in the way. I need to get coal.
Can't you just... Oh, does it have to go in the front?
No, it can go in either side. I could bring
it in. It can't go in on the... Oh, you can bring it in.
Yeah, let's bring it in there. Let's do that. So I could jump it. I could run over the back and jump over the top of those conveyor belts. Or I could run it in here, like this. This is probably the better option. And then let's delete that and change it to be that. Yeah, there we go. So I can run. So now I can do. So this is now inserters working properly, right? I can put inserters here. See, I can't. I've fucked it now. Right. This is all your fault.
Delete. Delete.
Delete.
Delete.
All right. That's all right. Nothing to panic about. Do not panic.
While we're waiting for Chris to undo the damage that he's done, you can click the like and subscribe button. There you go.
There we go. That's working. So now I can insert coal into here. Now, how are we going to get the copper ingots out? I hear you ask.
How are we going to get the copper ingots out?
Yeah. Well, because this is in the wrong place, right? So we're going to have to jump again. So now I can use an inserter again in the opposite direction, like this. Right. So those inserters are actually pointing the opposite direction. And then I can chain it like this. There you go.
Nice.
See, that's kind of exciting, isn't it? I look at that, I get excited, right? I feel like that is satisfying to watch. Right? It's a bit.
Why didn't you just use the same conveyor belt?
Well, because the coal would run right past.
Would it?
Yeah, the coal would eventually back up and run right past, and then it would get coal mixed in with your copper ingots.
I hate it when that happens.
It would be a total disaster. See, already, just by messing around with little pieces, we've already made a layout that works, but it's a bit of a hodgepodge. If we did this again, we would do it differently, and it would be better.
Yes.
But then imagine extending that for like 50 hours of learning.
Yeah.
And every stage along the way, your mastery increases until you see some people on YouTube playing Factorio, and you just can't believe the game they're playing. I think we need a bit more. Let's bump up our coal. So you see, we're actually running out of conveyors and inserters. So conveyors we can make out of gears and iron ingots, right? So we're already making gears here. So I'm going to extend this, and I'm going to have this gear factory is going to point. So it's making miners on this side. I'm going to put an inserter on this side. And now we're having to use our personal build queue and wait for it, right, to appear. Mm-hmm. So this is what you never want to happen in your Factorio game, because it's so annoying to have to wait. And iron. What was I saying? I was going to make conveyors. There you go. Alright, so this thing is now going to make conveyors. So if we want to actually save some output product, I think we do. Let's do this. Let's put a conveyor down here. Right, so again, some of it got built and some of it's now in the build queue. So I can shift click here and I can just pick up conveyor belts, right? And I can shift click here and pick up miners. But what I actually want to do is put them into a storage box so there's somewhere that I can find them. A chest.
A portal cube.
Yeah, it does look a bit like a portal cube, doesn't it? This was a triumph. There we go. So now we're putting conveyor belts and miners onto the conveyor belt. I always love, there's a Factorio-ism that the miner on the conveyor belt is much smaller than the actual miner.
Yeah, I like it. Yeah, I was thinking that as well.
Goes into a little chest. Right?
When they were being manufactured.
Yeah, and we can shift click on that and just pick all those up. So inserters, well, we need the same again, gear and iron circuits, but now we need green circuits as well. Everyone that's ever played Factorio knows that green circuits are made from copper and iron. So this is going to get more challenging now. Did you ever play Factorio? I don't think you did. I think you played it for like an hour and then got bored, didn't you?
Yeah. Because I'm not somebody. I kind of didn't. I don't necessarily get that feeling of I've done this once, but I could do it better, so I want to go and do it again.
Right.
That's not in my personality. So
yeah, it's
kind
interesting.
of
It's interesting that
running
a
into
game
it,
that sucks people in so much doesn't touch you particularly.
No, some people are like that. I think real kind of perfectionist, detail-oriented people. Happy to go back and start again and do the whole thing and enjoy optimizing and making that particular process as efficient as possible. Whereas I like to, it's a subtle difference, but I like to solve the problem the first time, in like a gross format. So I like the big picture idea, let's do it like this.
Well, you never can in Factorio, you can play Factorio
exactly.
for as long as you want, and you never really solve the layout because it's sort of like Prison Architect in the sense that there isn't really a right answer. There's no ultimately correct solution.
If I was Jeff Bezos, I would have designed the first Amazon factory to make it as efficient as I possibly could. But I would have had no interest in then making Amazon Factory 1.1, 1.2, 1.3, and just slowly refining that process. It's just not of interest to me.
Yeah, well, and it's I think it's been a surprise to everyone just how popular this genre actually is.
Well, yeah,
how many unbelievably hardcore nerds there are in the world that love this sort of thing.
Well, it's to a certain extent, it's engineering, isn't it? A certain type of engineering, and there's loads of engineers out there. It's almost odd that it took the industry so long to get to a point where we're making games for ourselves.
Yeah.
Not me, but because I'm not a coder. That's the other thing. I'm not, I've not got a lot of interest in programming. It's not what I do. But obviously there are lots and lots of people who do enjoy that.
Yeah. The thing is, all this time we've been talking, my medium-term objective is to start automatically making inserters, right? Because I'm sick of running out of inserters.
Right.
So inserters need green circuits. I've finally got to the point where I've figured out that green circuits need wire. So this factory's making wire out of copper. And green circuits need wire and I hope it's iron. It's either iron or copper. I actually can't even remember. So you see, each time I place an inserter, I have to wait for it to be manually constructed. So I think that one of the reasons why Factorio games are so addictive is that there is a genuine process involved, even in dealing with your immediate short-term requirements. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I need to use my brain to figure out, and I've made progress now. I've now got green circuits starting to build up here. So now an inserter is made out of a green circuit and a gear and an iron ingot. Well, I've got iron ingots here on this line, and I know that gears are made of iron ingots as well. So 2 more factories here, and I'll be able to start making inserters automatically.
I think there's definitely you're working on a lot of different levels.
Yes.
You're thinking about what am I doing immediately. So immediately I'm
running out of iron, right? I'm already using all my iron up, so I've just doubled up my iron production. But again, I have to wait for the inserter to be built. So now I've got twice as much iron feeding into my machine. So later, when I come back in 10 hours' time, this will be an enormous iron production facility that's feeding in to an enormous system inside.
But those medium and long-term goals are live as well, because and that's where the replayability comes from, right? Because you're moving in a particular direction, but then when you go back round, well, I got 5 hours in, 10 hours in, and then I ran out of iron, and there's nothing I could do. So I'm going to start this one with 3 or 4 iron producers to make sure that I'm at the right level.
Well, you can't, though. The thing is that
That's the other
you
thing.
do have to start small and build up.
Yeah.
But then you get that exponential growth curve, where suddenly you have abundance of everything,
Yeah.
So at the moment you can see we've got copper abundance, but we're still not making enough iron. Why aren't we making enough iron? So you go back up to here, only one of our things is working. Why is only one of our furnaces working? Because it's full of iron ore, but it doesn't have enough coal, right? We're only making enough coal to power one furnace.
I wonder if there's
So we go all the way back to the beginning again, and we have to place another miner. In fact, the general Factorio rule is to double up whenever you run out of anything. So now we're not even managing to automate green circuits anymore because we have run out of iron. So we need all of this. So I'm now manually taking material off my conveyor belts, which is shameful, because I'm screwing the rest of my factory. But I'm bottlenecked up now, so I need to do this.
I wonder if there's a game where you start off with an incredibly complex thing, right? Factory, circuit, aircraft, whatever, and it's broken, and you don't know why, and you have to go in and fix that.
Yeah, I'm sure there is. I mean, that would be a puzzle game, right? I also considered a game where, like a Factorio style game, where you're the opposition. There's always an opposition. In Factorio, it's like the planet itself and the aliens that want to get rid of the pollution, and your aim is to destroy the factory. But it's like an AI. The fun part is in the building of the factory,
Yeah.
I think. Right, so I've fixed my. Oh no, not quite yet. Right, so now I'm not making gear because I've run out of iron ingots again. You see, this is by.
You're not very good at this game, are you?
Well, this is just what always happens in Factorio. Is at the start of the game, you're constantly running into limits where you can't automate further, because you've got to do a bit more manual work first. Right, so let's see. Right, that's taking care of that. So I've solved my coal production. Here you go. Inefficiently, because you can see that this miner has not got enough space on the belt to get all of its materials out. So I've got.
I like the look of this. It's very. I almost prefer the look of this to Factorio. Actually, it's very crisp and clean. The colours.
It's a 2D sprite game, isn't it? It's completely.
Yeah, but there's a lot of detail in the 2D sprite. I don't object to it, but it's got a nice just the way in which even the black coal against the black conveyor belt is still very apparent.
Yeah.
You're good at that.
I wanted it to look that way. I've always loved untextured, flat.
Yeah.
That look, that's the look I love. Why aren't you working? Why aren't conveyors appearing? Again, because we've got iron shortage. We've just got nowhere near enough iron. It should be solved soon, hopefully, with these things running on full. Let's have another one. See, even when you want to increase your smelting, you need more iron for that, You always need more of everything. I mean, the thing that gets me is that this is, like I said in the intro, this is me giving me permission to just make Factorio. And at the moment, you haven't yet done anything that isn't exactly as it is in Factorio. And the game design of Factorio is very clear in this game, and it works, right? As a player, I'm actually really quite enjoying this, right? And I could happily sit and play this now for several hours until I've automated the production of every single one of these things, right? That's down at the bottom of my list. And in Factorio, that would be referred to as the shopping mall. Once you become an advanced enough player, your shopping mall is where you produce all the things that you need to solve the even bigger problems. But the shopping mall is just like the first, it's not, the game doesn't even give you that objective. You just realize that you need to automate production of all these things because you're going to need tons of conveyors and tons of inserters along the way, And then when you finally have that, you can then start building the even bigger mega projects, which in Factorio initially is like the space rocket that you're trying to build. And then after a while, the space rocket is really just the beginning of the end game. And you start on the whole other world of where you get to after 100 hours of play or something. Even now, Factorio takes me, I don't know, 30 odd hours to get to the first rocket launch, despite knowing the game absolutely inside out.
I thought Leander did it in a day.
Yeah, you can do it in one sitting if you want. I think Leander's
Well,
completely...
you can't do 30 hours in one sitting.
Yeah, sure you can. You've never played Factorio, have you?
I did. I told you I did.
Yeah, you can play...
I couldn't do anything with 30 hours, I
think that you can do it more efficiently if you know exactly what you're doing. Right, I think we've almost reached the point where we have automated inserters.
Which is another thing that's great about Factorio. It's almost that... maybe it's the same thing, that perfection...
Yeah.
If you click wrong, if you click somewhere incorrectly, then you've lost it. It's done. It's gone. You set yourself an objective of building the rocket in 10 hours or whatever, like bowling. And I always thought bowling
rebuild, just like Minecraft and all that. They took that idea that there's no real.
No, but I'm saying if you don't want to rebuild, right? If the goal, it's like just saying like a 10-pin bowling analogy. I've always thought it's interesting 10-pin bowling where the skill comes from you making a mistake, because the professionals bowl such good games that they should just, everything's the same, the conditions are the same every time, right? The ball, pretty much, bit of chaos theory in there, and then when it goes wrong because you've got it wrong, the skill is then, oh no, now I've got to get a split, or I've got to pick up that pin, or whatever,
Well, that would be, I suppose that the equivalent of that would be the roguelike genre, right? Or the hardcore roguelike genre, or the Spelunky, where you can be as advanced a player as you want, and maybe you've been playing the game for hundreds of hours, but one mistake and you can die.
Yeah,
and that's a very popular type of game in its own right, because the challenge there is just getting so good that you always get it right.
Yeah, that's it.
Let's put this here. Right, we're almost there. Do my inserter first. Yeah, it's quite a nice little factory we've got going on here, isn't it?
Yeah, it looks good.
So we should finally have... Yeah, so we're now making conveyors and miners in reasonable numbers. So we're not going to run out of conveyors anytime soon. And we should have an inserter in a second. We've run out of iron ingots. Let's eat some iron ingots. There we go. So now we have automated production of inserters. And that machine, so that's I think that's one of the other things that's very satisfying about Factorio and Satisfactory, is that this machine that I've built now will just sit here forever,
Yeah.
endlessly producing miners and conveyors and inserters. So I've done the first 3, and there's still all of these to go, which we're not going to do now because we're going to move on to the next bit. But you can see the rest of the game before you. At least I can.
Yes, you can. Yeah. No, I can as well.
I've done these, and it's not only that these aren't just like arbitrary things. The miner and the conveyor and the inserter are the raw materials that I need to make all the rest of these things.
Yeah.
Not to make the things, but to make the factory that makes the things, right? Until I'm actually eventually I'll make a factory that makes factories, and I'll start filling a storage box full of factories. And then I'll start making another factory that makes storage boxes. And as I just get bigger and bigger, my factory will be producing absolutely everything automatically, and that it's taken me a good while just to do these basics.
Yeah.
And obviously, the other thing is that we're already starting to run into space constraints in the middle here. If we need a third resource somewhere, this is going to be a real pain. So this is going to be very difficult to deal with. And after you've played Factorio for a while and this game for a while, you start to figure out to plan ahead, like this is where another line is going to come in eventually.
I mean, when you're building that factory, there is a sort of medium-term goal, which is to produce a factory that produces, what is it that you're making? Conveyor belts and
inserters.
Yeah. So
which
it's
is
like
the most common thing. Yeah. The next thing will be the factory itself. Which we can almost do already. Iron ingots, gears, wires, and green circuits. But as soon as we start producing those, we'll find that we start running out of everything again. As soon as we start doing that, we'll find that we're short of iron and we're short of copper, and that those smelting arrays need to be upgraded, and we need to start producing more of that in return. You know what I mean?
So, this doesn't feel like a failure.
It's not a failure. It's a lovely game. I really enjoy playing it.
Is it just that it's too close to Factorio?
It is Factorio, yeah. I mean,
Just in 3D with a different
I gave myself
skin.
permission to do that, right? I said to myself, I'm going to let you just once copy someone else's game letter for letter, because I love it so much. I don't.
And then what? You didn't want to launch it because you didn't. I don't think you even showed me this. Like, this is the first time I've ever seen this.
Yeah.
So it's interesting to me. So you didn't want to release this because what? It's Factorio, so no one's going to want to play it.
No.
You're
No.
worried that Introversion would just get told off for making a clone.
I don't think we'd get told off because, I mean, there's Satisfactory, right? And then there's Dyson Sphere Program. I mean, they're not exactly the same as Factorio. I mean, Satisfactory is Factorio, but in 3D.
Yeah,
Except
absolutely.
it's in first person, so you're sort of running around at this level with like a little hand tool and stuff. It's quite cool. This is more of a pure 3D Factorio builder. I don't know. I can't even say for sure. I think I lost interest in it once I hit this point. Once I got to the point where I can build an array of factories that are making all the parts, I just got bored. And the next step is to do the science packs and stuff, and start the research tree so that you're researching new technologies, right? And then once you've researched those technologies, they force you to go back and rebuild your factory again, and then you start work on the bigger projects. I think I just thought to myself that I'm not sure we would be able to. I'm not sure that we would be able to keep ourselves entertained in the years that it would take us to finalise this project. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's interesting because there's been a couple of games that I feel as if they weren't fundamentally flawed.
Yeah.
Necessarily, at the point that we stopped work or you down tools on them. Spacebots, I think, being one of those.
Yeah. Like it was actually a good game in its own right.
Although I prefer this.
Spacebots, I went on to Spacebots for a long time. I worked on that for over a year, and I think that Spacebots ran out of game when the programming when you'd completed all the levels. You'd done all the programming that you needed to do, and you no longer needed to do any more robot programming at that point.
Yeah.
Whereas Factorio fundamentally is a solid game design, and there's never that point when you've done enough. You never reach it. You cannot do it. You cannot reach the point when your factory is perfect. I did. So I did do another round. I did another part of work to the game, which was to try and create a threat for you to deal with, almost like a sort of tower defense style threat. If I do. So I'm just going to. This is going to be the last thing I'll show you in the game. If I press F6, this is loading a save game. Right, so
I love this.
One I've made before.
It reminds me of. Is this a deliberate effect, or is this just how it works?
It's behind the scenes. It's a chunk-based Minecraft style chunk.
But do you slow it down?
You can't. You can't slow it down.
No. So that's just the speed. That's as fast.
That's how fast it loads. Yeah. So
I love that because
it loads it in chunks, and each chunk is 16 by 16, I think. So
I love it, mate.
They get rendered.
It reminds me so much of like the old modem days. You know?
I know. Yeah, it should have a sound effect, shouldn't it? Like going.
Like nobody listening will. There'll be like 3 old beards that will remember the days of pictures on the internet loading like line by line.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, loading one section at a time.
There are certain pictures that loaded one section at a time that sometimes couldn't even complete in time.
Yeah. Let's not go there.
Let's not worry about that.
So this is the same thing again, right? So you see, this is kind of. I was starting to think now about stuff that Factorio doesn't have, right? So we have a threat now, right? We have these things. We have these like insect-like things, and they're coming for us.
No, they're just brilliant. There's another thing that you're really good at is this kind of, even though this is clearly like digital, it's clearly, not a real world. Somehow these insects are moving in an analog swarm-like way, which just makes my skin crawl.
Yeah.
Just like the spiders in Darwinia.
Well,
I look at that.
They're a bit like that. They're actually a bit like the ant nest in that they do have an intelligence behind them. Like they will try and root around. So you see, I've got some laser fences here. This is some of the higher tier stuff, right?
Yeah.
Lasers, and they're they're pushing against the laser
They're
fence.
fairly effective, these laser fences.
Yeah, but so these creatures, these creatures do leave pheromones when they die, right? So there's a bit of a pathfinding thing going on. So they will slowly alter the route that they try, and they'll keep probing. Now these guys have come from all the way over here, right? So you see they're starting to swarm in now.
It's horrible.
They just try a route, and if they die, they leave a little pheromone behind.
Yeah.
So it is actually impossible to fully defend yourself because you can't completely seal off. Now you see that once they actually get inside, they kind of turn into, they like solidify and they turn into a goop, right? And then eventually once the machinery is fully contained, it just stops working, right? So their aim is just to stop your factory working. Through any means. So there you go. So you see that they've eventually, from a lot of deaths, these guys have figured out they can actually climb up the pillar, you know?
I love that, yeah.
But then I've put another laser at the top, so fuck you, monsters.
I was lamenting the the corpse climb, you know, Starship Troopers corpse climb. They're not doing it, are they? They're not. The corpses aren't remaining. They're being totally
they've been evaporated. If the corpse remained, it would be over very quickly because
they'll
build a huge ramp straight away. But I also like inhuman intelligence, you know. I like the ant-like intelligence. That the only reason why these are going around the laser is that thousands of them have already died trying to go that way. And each of these aliens are actually very simple in terms of their AI. They just route follow, and whenever they die, they put a marker down saying this route's very expensive, cost you your life, you know.
Yeah, right.
If we find the right place, you might find spots where they're forced to cross water, so they actually die when they go in the water. But they solidify at the same time. So so
they
form bridges, right? So
in water,
So here you go. Here's a good example. So here you just see all the previous ones went into the water and then died. And then it formed a land bridge that the rest can now follow, you know. And so they're just swarming at you. So your defenses are, you can try and build laser fences, which do work, or you can try. Over here we've got these things that are like laser turrets. They just don't have any graphics. Yeah, and so if any of these guys that there you see the same things happened here, like they've sort of learnt to go around the laser fence, you know.
Do you watch Mandalorian?
No, I haven't seen Mandalorian. Is it good?
It's
I've
very
heard
good
things about it.
Yeah, it's really good, and it is really good. They've absolutely touched in my view the spirit of Star Wars. You know what it was, the 1977 Star Wars, and it also looks amazing. You know, you've seen how they film it, right, with the big screen behind the characters.
I haven't seen that. No.
They're
using projection, are they, to get the effects behind them rather than CG after?
Well, it's not. Yeah, but it's not projection. So, it's like the modern version of projection. There's a massive LED or whatever it is screen behind them, and it does make a big difference actually on it. Yeah. But in
probably
season
makes a
2,
difference for the actors as well, you know.
Yeah, I think it really does.
See what they're supposed to be looking at.
You can feel when you watch The Mandalorian, this feels like nothing I've seen before, you know. And I'm not particularly tuned into like special effects and things, but it just does feel great. You know, they've absolutely nailed it. And in season 2, there's a horrible scene with spiders, and this reminds me of that. Right, and it's one of the best creepy crawly attack scenes that I've seen ever, actually.
I think we're sort of trained, aren't we? We're trained to find this sort of ant-like, spider-like intelligence very, very unnerving. I think of them as ants, even though they look like spiders. They're really big.
Yeah, no, they're definitely ants. Yeah, they're definitely ants, not spiders.
And it still freaks me out a bit. And also, I think there's something about the way they just glue it all up, you know.
Yeah.
This hits you where it hurts because you're not getting that raw material anymore, you know. So eventually your whole factory seizes up, and then eventually, of course, your laser turrets would stop working, and you wouldn't be able to build more defenses. And so you're sort of on a back foot at this point once they've breached the perimeter.
They feel like a hell of a force, though, mate, in terms of balance. Yeah. You know, I suppose this has just turned up to 11 to prove what they can do, but at the same time, I suppose it's great, you know, to be able to see the end result like that.
Yeah,
you know,
I think that's the end of the demo for today.
There we go.
Boom. All right, I think we'll call that the end of the visual demo.
Yeah, excellent. Well, this month's competition is to build the rocket in, what's this one called?
It doesn't really have a name, so let's just call it Vauxhall Factorio. How about that?
Vauxhall Factorio. I don't think we can call it that, no, because we've got to be careful, haven't we?
Vauxhall Factory. build?
Vauxhall Factory. Voxtory.
Vox Tory.
Vox.
Fact Voxio.
We'll think of a name.
Fact Vox Oreo.
Fact Voxo. Vox Oreo.
Vox
Vox
Oreo.
Oreo. That'll
Okay,
do.
fine.
Right.
Yeah.
So the first person to build the rocket in Fox Oreo wins free tickets to sexy metal bastard Chris's next Powderhead gig.
Thanks for that, mate.
There we go. There
is no rocket,
and the
mate.
first,
There is no rocket. So
there is no rocket.
How about you make it that it's to build the best looking factory and send us pictures?
Right. So the competition this month is to tweet us pictures of the most epic factories that you've built in, what are we calling it? Vox Oreo.
Vox Oreo.
Right? Vox Oreo. And the best one, the one that Chris likes the best, the one that he likes the best, doesn't matter whether it is, it's just what he likes. That's the rules. The sexy metal bastard himself will give you tickets to his next gig.
Brilliant. Good one. I like it.
There we go. But in order to do that, you're going to need to download it. And in order to download it, you're going to need to go to introversion.co.uk/prototypes. You're going to need to pick a dollar amount, United States dollar amount, above $5. And every single cent that we get, we give straight to War Child. So you'll be enjoying yourself playing the game and knowing that your money is going to a very worthy cause. I think that is everything I've got to say this month. Have you got anything, Chris?
Ooh, I've got nothing more. We're done. I'm feeling celebratory.
Until next time, let's crack open the champagne.